She wants to marry a dying man, with the condition that he gives her his kidney after death, because she has kidney failure. Of course, she's not freeloading. She promises to arrange his funeral as his wife, take care of his parents, and fulfill her duties after he passes. I know this is selfish, she says, but to survive, please forgive my desperation and shame. After recording the video, the girl, Ling Min, posted in a cancer support group, but then she rethinks it and quickly deletes it. Even though she acts fast, she still gets a friend request. The person's username is No Brains. After accepting, Ling Min wants to call and explain, to say it was a mistake, but the other person doesn't pick up. Instead, he sends a message saying, "Can't talk on WeChat," and share a meeting address. They set the time for tomorrow at 12:46 p.m. and even come up with a secret code. He says that tomorrow, he'll say "cool dude," and Ling Min should reply with "let's go." That way, he'll know it's her. Ling Min finds it ridiculous, but to clear things up, she still shows up at the spot the next day. Right at 12:46 p.m., she spots the cool dude. He's munching on a chicken leg while going table to table, checking the code. He looks totally clueless. Ling Min quickly calls him over. He starts the code. "Cool dude," Ling Min says. "Yeah, it's me," he says. "Wrong." Ling Min has no choice but to say, "Let's go." Hearing the correct response, he hurries to sit down, and the two start introducing themselves. "Hi, Lin Min. My name is Lia Tu." Ling Min says her name is Ling Min, not Lin Min, but Lia Tu still doesn't get it. Frustrated, Ling Min says, "Whatever, call me what you want." After introductions, Lia Tu pulls out two 50% off coupons from his bag and says he wants to treat Ling Min to a meal. But Ling Min says no, she can't eat any of the food here because of her kidney disease. Plus, she didn't come here to eat. Ling Min starts explaining, saying the video was just a misunderstanding. She doesn't feel that way anymore and tells him to forget about it, just pretend he never saw it. But as soon as she finishes speaking, Lia Tu suddenly goes limp and collapses onto the table. Ling Min is stunned. "What the heck? Is he dead?" Lin Min quickly pokes him and reaches out to check his breathing, but just as her hand gets close, he suddenly wakes up. Lia Tu says, "Sorry, when the pressure in my head increases, I just pass out like that. You know how it feels when you're under general anesthesia? It's exactly like that." Just when it seems like things are settled, Lia Tu spots two people in the distance staring at them. Out of nowhere, he gets the wild idea that Ling Min must be an organ trafficker, and those two are her accomplices. He even snatches a badge decoration off her, yelling, "This is a wiretap!" As if that's not enough, a few men in black walk in at that exact moment. Convinced they're here to kidnap him, Lia Tu pulls out his meal card, claiming it's a police badge, and shouts, "I'm an officer." He pretends to call for backup again. As the figures get closer, he suddenly stands up and throws some ancient fist technique moves, only to realize the men in black are just here to eat. The whole thing was just Lia Tu's delusion. Ling Min watches this and mutters, "What a freak." Looking at the scene, she thinks his online nickname, No Brain, fits him perfectly. Too embarrassed to stay, she calls him a drama queen and ends this ridiculous meetup. As soon as she steps out of the restaurant, Lia Tu texts her, "You passed my first test." Ling Min replies, "Dumbass," then blocks him without a second thought. A few days pass, and she thinks the whole matchmaking mess is behind her, that she'll never have to see that clueless Lia Tu again. But then, on this very day, she spots him standing right outside her building. He's actually stalking her? Seriously, what's his deal? Furious, Ling Min storms outside and marches up to him. She snatches the notebook from his hands, throws it on the ground, and stomps on it a few times. Then she yells, "Are you crazy? Didn't I make myself clear enough? When will you stop?" Liu Tu says, "I'm just going through the second phase of the test." He replies. Ling Min asks, "Then what happens if I pass all your tests?" Liu Tu says, "Then we'll do what you said. We'll get married, I'll give you my kidney, and you'll help take care of my mom." Ling Min says firmly, "I'm telling you for the last time, I won't marry you. I don't want your kidney, and I won't take care of your mom either." Ling Min looks frustrated and mutters to herself, blaming her bad luck. She says it's karma for her reckless choices, like running into someone like Lia Tuesday. But Lia Tu just shrugs and says, "Don't beat yourself up over it. It's not that deep." Ling Min rolls her eyes and calls him an idiot. As she walks away, Lia Tu picks up his notebook and solemnly writes a few big words in it. He writes, "She's got a bad temper." Starting this day, Lia Tu begins shamelessly following Ling Min, popping up in all sorts of unexpected places, like the bridal shop where Ling Min is helping her best friend try on wedding dresses, the supermarket, even a hospital ward. Wherever Ling Min goes, Lia Tu shows up. Ling Min is totally fed up. One day, while Lia Tu is tailing her, Ling Min deliberately hides. After he passes by, she mutters in annoyance, "Ugh, this guy is such a stalker. The way you get out of the bike is unique. I thought only us girls use that leg swinging move to step out," Lia Tu says. "Can't help it," Lia Tu replies. "It's a side effect of brain disease. Any other way and I'll get dizzy." After a few days of observation, Lia Tu finally finishes his research and hands Ling Min a summary sheet. It clearly lists her anger meter, passive skills, and other stats. Ling Min just thinks he's nuts. Early the next morning, Ling Min is woken up by a call from her real estate agent. She's renting the place, but it's up for sale. The agent tells her someone's coming to view the apartment in the afternoon and asks her to hide her medicine because potential buyers might get weirded out seeing so many pills. That's when Ling Min snaps. Armed with spray paint, Ling Min storms into the real estate agency and tags the glass door with "unscrupulous." An agent rushes out to stop her, but she snaps. "I put up with the landlord breaking the contract to sell the place. I tolerated your endless parade of buyers touring my home, but now you're telling me to hide my medicine? Enough is enough. Are sick people some kind of bad luck? Are we that disgusting to look at?" Ling Min says. "Remember, I signed a lease to live here. This is my home. It's not like I chose to get sick." She adds, "All 3 hospitals where I'm on the kidney transplant waitlist are within 3 miles. If a match comes up, I can get there fast. And if I crash with life or death complications, pulmonary edema, heart failure, a brain hemorrhage, the ambulance might actually reach me before I die." For the landlord and the agents, that apartment is just a business deal. But for Ling Min, this is her lifeline. She just wants to survive. Hearing this, Lia Tu beside her feels mixed emotions, and even the agent feels uneasy. So they promise to find her a new place in the same neighborhood, free of charge. They won't let her move until they do. The conflict finally cools down. Later, Lia Tu approaches Ling Min again and shows her his medical records. "I have a brain tumor," he says. 4 years ago, he had surgery to remove part of his brain to stay alive. But a month ago, it came back. He knows his time is running out. He's seen Ling Min's records. If she agrees to take care of his mother after he's gone, he's willing to give her his kidney. Lia Tu explains everything in detail and with sincerity, but Ling Min only replies with, "No wonder you're so clueless." Even though Ling Min is firm, Lia Tu keeps pushing. Ling Min explains that the video was really posted by accident. She won't marry him, and apologizes for wasting his time. Lia Tu asks, "So that's it? Just an apology?" Ling Min says, "What else do you want?" Lia Tu asks, "How about meeting my mom?" Ling Min is exasperated by Lia Tu's persistent attitude. To get rid of him once and for all, she drags him to a nearby police station and tells Officer Lee that he's been stalking her. She hands over the notebook where Lia Tu recorded her activities. But Ling Min forgets that Lia Tu is a total airhead. He actually explains that he followed her because she posted in a group chat looking for a kidney donor, and he suspected she might be an organ trafficker. Officer Lee says, "You both seem pretty shady to me." Just like that, the two are taken to the police station. After some back and forth, the cops piece together the whole story. The officer tells them, "This is just ridiculous. It's against transplant regulations. Even between spouses, you have to be married for at least 3 years before donating." He also warns Lia Tu to stop stalking Ling Min, or next time it'll count as harassment. After leaving the police station, Ling Min realizes she went too far and apologizes to him, saying this really won't work. But Lia Tu just runs off, as if he's deeply hurt. At the same time, Officer Lee comes out to return the medical records Lia Tu left behind, but he's already gone. Ling Min takes them instead. On her way home, she looks at the photos of Lia Tu during surgery in the records and feels a mix of emotions. He's had a hard life, she thinks. He kept going for his mother's sake. After that, Lia Tu seems to vanish, no sign of him. The real estate agent keeps their promise and finds Ling Min a place nearby. While showing the apartment, the agent apologizes to her. He explains that his mother is sick and he urgently needs the commission, which is why he's rushing Ling Min to move out. Naive and trusting, Ling Min signs the contract without hesitation. Soon, her best friend's wedding arrives. Among the bridesmaids, Ling Min's arm sleeves stand out awkwardly. Still, she works hard to help with the event. Then, she spots a familiar figure, Lia Tuesday. "What's he doing here?" she wonders. She runs over to ask, and Lia Tu says he's working as a videographer for the wedding company. Legit job, even showing her his uniform. Ling Min ignores him after that and joins her friends for dinner. During the meal, they play a game where they pass the tissue with their mouths. The groomsman sitting next to Ling Min is a total creep. he just swallows the tissue instead. The guy tries to take advantage of Ling Min, waiting for her to kiss him while the crowd eggs them on. Ling Min freezes, unsure what to do. Suddenly, Lia Tu charges in, tackles the guy to the ground, and starts throwing punches with his ancient martial arts moves. Later, Lia Tu is dragged to the security office. He claims he was being a hero, saying Ling Min signaled for help, but Ling Min denies it. Lia Tu says, "Then why were you making eyes at me?" Ling Min says, "Who was making eyes at you?" Lia Tu says, "Just admit it, you looked at me, right?" Ling Min says, "Okay, maybe I glanced your way." Lia Tu says, "And when you looked, did you make this face?" As he says this, Lia Tu spots the security camera footage, so he drags Ling Min to check it out. But when he grabs her arm, she collapses in pain. They rush to the hospital. The doctor says, "A fistula is highly sensitive to pressure. The external force likely caused an acute blood clot, blocking it." Because of Lia Tu's actions, the fistula in Ling Min's arm, used for dialysis, gets completely blocked, and they can't clear it no matter what. Ling Min is in agony, and Lia Tu is filled with guilt. In the end, Ling Min has to go through the ordeal again, getting a new fistula created overnight. A dialysis fistula, in simple terms, connects an artery in a vein to make the vein function like an artery, increasing blood flow for easier needle access during dialysis. It's basically a lifeline for dialysis patients. After the surgery, Lia Tu stands by Ling Min's bedside, unsure what to do. Just then, the real estate agent calls and says the moving company has arrived. It's time for her to move. But Ling Min just had surgery and can't move yet, so Lia Tu volunteers to help, as a way to make up for his mistakes. In just one day, Lia Tu not only moves all her things but also sets up her new room. He even prepares a meal tailored for someone with kidney disease, being extra thoughtful. During dinner, Lia Tu says, "This place has good vibes, unlike the last one." Ling Min asks, "Why is that?" Lia Tu replies, "The old place had a bird's nest right across from it. Bad luck, you know?" Ling Min asks why bad luck. Lia Tu says, "Since the 1980s, all the birds in the world have been replaced by AI birds. Bad guys use them to spy on humans. Their eyes are cameras. Every word we say and everything we do gets recorded. Imagine being watched like this every day. It drains your soul." Ling Min hears this bizarre claim and is completely speechless. Before she can react, Lia Tu adds that he recently joined an alien contact group. He regularly sends Morse code messages to outer space. If aliens pick up the signal, they'll take the sender back to their home planet. He also says all humans are descendants of aliens, and life on their home planet is extremely harsh, so their brains are incredibly advanced. But on Earth, they can only develop up to 10% because surviving here is too easy. Ling Min asks, "Surviving on Earth is easy?" Lia Tu says, "Yeah, look at me. I had a chunk of my skull cut off, and I'm still doing just fine, aren't I?" Hearing this, Ling Min almost laughs herself to the ground. Lia Tu starts laughing too, but as they keep laughing, his laughter turns to tears. "I'm sorry, Ling Min," he says. "I've caused you so much pain. Does your arm still hurt?" The abrupt shift in his emotions leaves Ling Min frozen in place. At the same time, the emotional whiplash is too much for Lia Tu, and just like before, he instantly passes out. But he wakes up again moments later. Then, Lia Tu suddenly stands up with a weird look, saying he needs to clean up the room because he's staying to take care of Ling Min. At first, Ling Min refuses, saying it's inappropriate for them to be alone together. But Lia Tu threatens to call her dad. He has his number from the delivery package. Not wanting to worry her parents, Ling Min reluctantly agrees and goes to fetch him a pillow. When she returns with the pillow, she sees him using her cup and yells, "Don't drink that." Lia Tu asks, "What's wrong?" Ling Min says, "That's the cup I use to measure my pee." Lia Tu replies, "No way, it doesn't even smell." Ling Min snaps, "Don't you know, people with kidney disease don't have smelly pee." Ling Min has a temporary dialysis tube inserted in her neck, while Lia Tu stays by her side the whole time. The dialysis process is always boring and takes forever. Just like before, Ling Min picks up her phone and plays some music, but after a short while, Lia Tu takes her phone and drops it into a cup. Then he says to her, "My mom says the echo makes it sound even better than a speaker." In the days that follow, Lia Tu keeps Ling Min company, helping her check her blood pressure, tracking her daily water intake, and packing up their things for the move. He cleans the house spotless, and even carries her on his back when she's tired. During her dialysis sessions, when she dozes off, he gently supports her head. Once, he notices her drooling in her sleep and jokes, "You've got alien skills," Lia Tu says. "Our alien group leader says drooling is a skill we developed on our home planet. It helps flush out toxins." That same day, Lia Tu gives Ling Min an apology letter. If she presses her handprint on it, she can ask him to do anything for her, as long as it's not illegal. It's his way of making up for all the hardship he put her through. After the surgery, Ling Min can't shower for a few days, so she's itchy all over and has to ask Lia Tu to scratch for her. But what she doesn't expect is that the very next day, Lia Tu brings his mom over. His mom asks, "Sweetie, is it this arm? Oh dear, you've been through so much." Then she turns to Lia Tu and yells, "Get over here, you little troublemaker. I told you to keep your hands to yourself." Lia Tu quickly says, Okay, Mom, stop hitting me. We rehearsed this. No hitting the face." Lia Tu adds, "Oops, I got too into character." Well, like mother, like son, they're both equally adorable. Lia Tu's mom comes over to help Ling Min take a bath, as Lia Tu asked. Hearing this, Ling Min says no thanks. She feels a bit awkward, but Lia Tu's mom acts like she didn't hear, takes off her coat, and heads to the bathroom. Ling Min has no choice but to accept. Before going in, Lia Tu reminds Ling Min, "Don't tell my mom about my relapse," and Ling Min agrees. After the bath, Lia Tu's mom blows dry Ling Min's hair while apologizing. She says, "Lia Tu's always been a scaredy cat. The night he hurt you, he cried at home all night." She also adds, "He's not good enough for you," and mentions how Lia Tu tends to overthink things. She tells Ling Min to think carefully about their relationship. When Lia Tu's mom mistakes them for a couple, Ling Min replies, "We're just hospital buddies." Maybe even Ling Min doesn't realize that after all these days together, the goofy Lia Tu has found his way into her heart. Soon, the day to contact the aliens arrives. Lia Tu specially assembles a set of receiving equipment. He tells Ling Min, "Wait downstairs with the walkie-talkie for the signal," then carries the receiver up to the rooftop himself. Ling Min is speechless but still sits there seriously, waiting as he said. During this time, Ling Min asks Lia Tu, "Is it true that some people on Earth have been taken away by aliens?" Lia Tu says, "Yes, but only their consciousness is taken. Their bodies stay on Earth and fall into a coma. Once the aliens fix their consciousness, they send it back, and the person wakes up." Lia Tu says this theory was told to him by the admin of the alien group chat. Shortly after the admin moved to a new house, his wife and child got blood cancer. Not long after, his wife passed away, and his son fell into a coma. Then one day, a beam of light shone into the admin's home, and a voice told him that his son's consciousness had been taken away for repairs. Strangely enough, a few days later, his son actually woke up, though the odds of this happening are extremely low, like 1 in 300 million. After sharing this, Lia Tu starts talking about him and Ling Min. He says the chance of them meeting was also 1 in 300 million, and that they're totally meant to be a match made in the stars. He jokes that they're quite the pair, one with a busted brain, the other with 2 busted kidneys. No one is a better match than these 2 unhappy souls. He's already checked. If he dies, his wife Ling Min gets first priority for his organs. After hearing this, Ling Min doesn't agree. She just says they're like 2 empty soda bottles, both hoping for a win another bottle prize. Ling Min says, "I don't think there's much hope for me. Maybe my whole life is just destined to be a thanks for playing." Lia Tu quickly says, "Don't talk like that. Show some fighting spirit. You got this." As his words grow louder, tears start rolling down both their faces. Not long after, Ling Min's arm heals. One day, Lia Tu's mom invites her over for dinner. While cooking, Lia Tu's mom keeps playing a song on repeat. The song's name is "Let's Shake the Sun Together." Ling Min steps into Lia Tu's room for the first time. The walls are filled with traces of his growth and his mother's love for him. During dinner, they chat about family and work. Ling Min used to be a tour guide but started writing articles for the travel agency's blog after getting sick. Lia Tu's mom says, "Actually, some friends of mine are planning to come here for a trip next month. Could you help them book a good tour?" Ling Min replies, "No need for that. I'll take them around myself." Lia Tu's mom asks, "But are you sure your health can handle it?" Ling Min says, "No problem. I'll just do my dialysis in advance. You can count on me to give them the full experience." Just then, Ling Min's phone rings. It's the hospital. They've found a matching kidney donor. Ling Min needs to go register at the hospital right away, but the rain is pouring so hard that the whole city is gridlocked, and they can't even get a taxi. In a rush, Lia Tu hops on his bike, with Ling Min sitting behind him holding an umbrella, and they pedal straight to the hospital. After what feels like forever, they finally arrive. The doctor successfully registers Ling Min's information. But just then, the doctor gets a call. The donor's family has raised objections, so they'll have to wait for updates. Their hearts sink instantly. As they're leaving, a father and son hurry in. Lia Tu's eyes instantly fill with hostility. Ling Min explains to him, "Stop staring. Usually, when someone donates both kidneys, it can help two patients with transplants. We're transplant buddies, not rivals. Relax." After that, the two wait outside the hospital for a long time. The father and son are also waiting, but there is only endless disappointment. The family on the other side decides to stop the kidney donation. Seeing the message about the cancelled donation, Ling Min's tears instantly fall. Meanwhile, the son from the father-son pair also waiting for a kidney match loses all hope. The son says to his father, "Just leave me alone, I'm begging you. Please, I can't take it anymore. I want to go home. I can't wait for that kidney. I'm tired. I just can't wait any longer." We always think happiness means having a car, a house, and money. But when we really think about it, it's about being free from sickness, pain, and disaster. On the bus ride home, Ling Min hums the song Lia Tu's mom used to listen to. The lyrics is "Let's shake the sun together." She doesn't understand why the sun needs to be shaken. But then Lia Tu suddenly says to her, "Let's get married." Even though he jokes that he just wants to find a good home for his kidney. But what he really wants is to give Ling Min a reason to keep living. Besides, his own illness could get worse at any time, and worse means death. Maybe the day after tomorrow. So he wants to give her his kidney, to let her live for him. This is Lia Tu's unique way of confessing his love. As for the lyrics of "Let's Shake the Sun Together," Lia Tu has his own take. He says, "The sun rises and sets every day. Even it gets sleepy and tired sometimes. That's why we have cloudy and rainy days. We have to shake it with sheer willpower to wake it up." He's telling Ling Min in his own way, as long as the will stands strong, the sun will eventually rise again. As long as hope remains, tomorrow will still be beautiful. The scene shifts to the next day. The two arrive at the marriage license office. They get married. As they step outside, Ling Min spots a tour group entering a restaurant. A bold idea strikes her. She approaches the tour guide and, after some discussion, secures a chance to speak on stage. She steps up and says, "My beloved Lia Tu and I just got our marriage license and started our journey together. It's just a shame our family and friends couldn't be here with us. But a wedding is such a big deal. It shouldn't be too quiet, right? Just now, I saw everyone wearing red hats. And with such a festive atmosphere, we decided to join in on the fun and celebrate with all of you. How about we add 2 more dishes to each table? 1 plate of braised pork and 1 plate of fish head with 2 kinds of peppers. It's on us. We hope you'll give us lots of blessings. Thank you, everyone." And just like that, the two had their own unique wedding. Though no family or friends were there, well-wishers kept coming. Though their outfits were simple, the joy of their big day was just as lively as any grand wedding. Later, as they walked home, chatting and laughing, they reached their doorstep when Ling Min spots a familiar face, her ex-boyfriend. He walks over and says he wants to talk. She agrees, and they head to a cafe. Back when Ling Min was diagnosed with kidney failure, her boyfriend vanished without a word, even snipping off a lock of her hair as a keepsake. Now, he pulls out a lock of hair and begs for a second chance, asking her to forgive his past actions. "I'm drowning in online loans," BX says. "I can't even turn on my phone anymore. I should have listened to you." His apology disgusts Ling Min. This isn't the first time. She hands him a card and walks away. She says this was their wedding savings fund. Then she tells him to close his eyes and cuts off a lock of his hair. Ling Min says, "Now we're even. The hair in this box isn't mine. My hair isn't this nice. Whoever it belongs to, you should return it. Too many love debts will come back to haunt you." With that, Ling Min walks away without looking back and finds Lia Tu, who had been hiding outside watching. Earlier, she had told Lia Tu to go home, but he secretly followed her, afraid her ex would hurt her. Lia Tu says, "Legally you're my wife. It's only right that I worry about you." Ling Min asks, "Only legally?" Lia Tu replies, "I try not to think beyond that. After all, I don't have much time left." Hearing this, Ling Min's tears fall, her heart aching for him. Seeing her tears, Lia Tu gently wipes them away, then licks his fingers after touching her tears. Ling Min asks what he's doing. "You told me before that the urine of kidney failure patients doesn't smell," he says. "I just wanted to see if tears are salty." "You're such a dumbass," Ling Min says. "Well, I am missing a piece of brain tissue," Lia Tu replies. Ling Min starts laughing through her tears, but then the tears keep falling. And right then, for the first time, she kisses him. At this moment, they're not just a couple bound by an agreement. They're real husband and wife, truly in love. A few days later, Lia Tu's mom's friends arrive as planned. Ling Min acts as their tour guide, showing them around and explaining all the famous landmarks. Over the next few days, both Ling Min and Lia Tu are incredibly happy. It feels like all their past hardships were just leading up to this moment of joy. But during dinner that night, Lia Tu suddenly feels unwell and rushes to the bathroom. Ling Min notices something's wrong and follows him, only to hear him vomiting inside. Is his condition relapsing? That night, back at home, Ling Min digs out Lia Tu's medical records. The next day, she tracks down his doctor using the information from the files. But when she asks, she's stunned, because Lia Tu has been lying to her all along. He isn't terminally ill. With proper treatment, there's a chance he could recover. That evening, Ling Min confronts Lia Tuesday. Why are you giving up? She demands. He says, I don't want to drain mom's retirement savings. Ling Min fires back. If we're short on money, we can borrow. I'll sell everything if I have to. But the real thing Lia Tu fears isn't the cost. It's the brain surgery. It's the endless darkness in the ICU after surgery. It's the fear of reliving that terrible experience. But most of all, it's the fear of not knowing what will happen to Ling Min once he recovers. He just wants Ling Min to live well for his sake. Ling Min says they're married now. He shouldn't just think about himself. But he replies, didn't we get married just so I could give you my kidney? Ling Min asks, is that really what you think our marriage is about? Lia Tu says, besides these 2 kidneys, I don't know what else you'd see in me. Sacrificing yourself for love only ends up torturing the other person. Heartbroken, Ling Min slams their marriage certificate in front of Lia Tu and yells, divorce. We're getting a divorce. Just then, Ling Min's parents walk in and see everything. They probably never imagined things would turn out like this. The first time Ling Min's father meets his new son-in-law is during a messy divorce. After hearing the whole story, Ling Min's dad asks Lia Tu, are you really willing to give your kidney to Ling Min? Ling Min cuts in. Dad, focus. The issue isn't about the kidney, it's that he has to get the surgery. Lia Tu's thoughts are simple. Before, he wanted to use his kidney as a way to secure his mother's future. But now, he just wants Ling Min to live. He wants to give her his second chance, like winning an extra bottle in a soda cap prize. Ling Min says, I don't need it. I'd rather stay on dialysis for life. With that, she walks back to her room. She doesn't want Lia Tu's self-sacrificing gesture. She just wants them both to live. For the next few days, they don't see each other. But the little moments they once shared always find their way into Ling Min's heart when she least expects it. Watching the video Lia Tu made for her, she starts smiling without realizing it, only to burst into tears moments later. Sometimes when she sees birds outside her window, she wonders if they're the AI birds Lia Tu once mentioned. These days, Lia Tu lingers around her building, hoping to catch a glimpse of her, but a nosy real estate agent spots him, filming him on his phone and teasing him like he's some kind of fool. By chance, Ling Min sees this scene. Furious, she storms over and whacks the agent with her backpack. As for why Lia Tu plays along with the agent's antics, he thinks the agent is Ling Min's friend. I just want to see you, Lia Tu says. Ling Min replies, you can see me anytime, as long as you agree to treatment. But Lia Tu stubbornly refuses. I won't go. Then let's get a divorce, Ling Min says. Tomorrow at 9 a.m., I'll be waiting for you at the marriage license office. The next morning, Ling Min arrives at the office, but after waiting for a long time, Lia Tu never shows up. She calls him, only for his mother to answer. Lia Tu's condition has worsened. He's now in the hospital. Without hesitation, Ling Min rushes there. After searching, she finds his room, but doesn't go in. Instead, she stands outside, listening to their conversation. Lia Tu's mom asks the doctor, didn't you always say his checkups were fine? The doctor says, when did I say that? Lia Tu's mom replies, you told me on WeChat. The doctor says, that's not my WeChat account. Lia Tu tells his mom that he registered the account and pretended to be the doctor to trick her. His mom asks, why would you do that? He says, I don't want treatment anymore. I don't want to live. I'm tired of it all. Lia Tu's mom slaps him without thinking. Hearing their conversation and his mom's crying, Ling Min at the door feels heartbroken. That night, Lia Tu's mom goes to Ling Min's house. She says she agrees with Lia Tu's decision. If that day ever comes, she's okay with him giving his kidney to Ling Min. She just hopes Ling Min can convince Lia Tu to get treatment. Cut to the next night. Ling Min finds Lia Tu lying on the rooftop, trying to contact aliens. Lia Tu knows Ling Min is here to talk him into surgery, but Ling Min says it's not a request, it's an order. She then pulls out the apology letter Lia Tu gave her earlier, where he promised to do one thing for her. Ling Min says, press your thumbprint here, and it's official. You're not backing out, are you? Lia Tu doesn't answer directly. Instead, he says he's figured something out. He compares the surgery 4 years ago to winning a free second bottle. in a soda cap, a lucky bonus. The heavens gave him 4 extra years to enjoy life, meet the girl he loved, and even get married. He's already grateful for that. Lingmin says, funny you mention that. She pulls out a bottle of soda and confidently tells Laya 2. This one's a winner for sure. Laya 2 doesn't believe her but takes it, opens it, and sure enough, it's a winning bottle. Before he can even react, Lingmin grabs the bottle, screws the cap back on, then whips out her phone, turns on the flashlight, and shines it through the bottom. Turns out, you can see the winning words on the cap when light shines through it. Lingmin says, now do you suddenly feel that winning a free extra bottle isn't that exciting anymore? Then she adds, I've heard this idea before, that everyone's life script is something they chose themselves after reading it, but they just forgot at the moment of birth. Laya 2 says, then why would I pick such a terrible script? Lingmin says, mine isn't great either, but since we made the choice, there must be a reason for it. Laya 2 says, maybe getting a brain tumor was meant to inspire me to contact aliens. Who knows, maybe I'll become an alien communication expert someday. Lingmin says, could be. Laya 2 says, but the price is way too high, don't you think? Lingmin says, the bigger the sacrifice, the bigger the reward. Maybe you'll even win a Nobel Prize someday. You should focus on things that make you happy. Cry if you want to cry. Laugh if you want to laugh. If you're feeling down, just yell. Go for it. Laya 2's heart wavers, but he still worries. What if the surgery fails? What if he's left with lasting damage? What if his life story has no next page? But Lingmin doesn't give him a chance to argue. She picks up the apology letter and says, I don't want to live for you. I want to live with you. Laya 2 agrees, then turns to look east and says, I want to watch the sunrise one more time. He says, I'll go with you. She replies. They wait together from night until dawn, but the sun never breaks through the morning haze. In the end, Laya 2 agrees to the surgery. Before entering the operating room, he hands Lingmin a piece of paper. This is the eulogy I wrote for myself, he says. If I don't make it, read this at my funeral. Then the screen fades to black. Then, the sound of a eulogy begins. Hello everyone, I'm Laya 2, the voice says. Right now, I've already left this world. The body is life's fortress, and mine has been breached for far too long. Wait, no, Laya 2 is still alive. Laya 2 asks Lingmin why he's not dead, but she's already reading his eulogy. Lingmin says, because when you were unconscious, you didn't react to anything else. Only when I read the eulogy did your eyes move. Laya 2 asks, was I out for long? Lingmin says, 17 days. Maybe aliens picked up your signal and took your consciousness back to their home planet. Laya 2 says, no way. Ever since we met, I changed the Morse code. The signals I send them are a plea to our home planet, to take you back and heal you. After Lingmin tells him that the drink she gave him that night was specially made by a friend, Laya 2 says, you dare pull a stunt like this? Is there anything you wouldn't do? Don't tell me even your name is fake. Are you really Lin Min? Lingmin replies, I was never Lin Min to begin with. It's Lingmin. Laya 2 never got her name right, yet he stood by her side as they shook the sun together. In the end, Laya 2 leaves the hospital, and the two hold their long overdue wedding. At the ceremony, Lingmin isn't wearing her usual arm covers, and Laya 2's head is bare. Two broken bodies, now pieced together into one whole family. The movie doesn't show how their story ends. Maybe Laya 2's illness comes back one day, or maybe it never does. Maybe Lingmin never gets a kidney transplant, or maybe she does, but none of that really matters. What matters is they found each other. From then on, every day will be bright because they are each other's sunshine. The film, titled Let's Shake the Sun Together, tells the story of two patients. But instead of focusing on sadness, it shows their resilience and kindness in tough times. Even with serious illnesses, they still laugh and mess around. Even when they don't know what tomorrow holds, they live each day to the fullest. It's rare to win another bow from a drink cap, and life isn't always smooth sailing, but they keep going. Just like the sun sometimes dozes off, we can still wake it up with our willpower. This strength helps us face life's challenges and hold on to hope for the future. As Lingmin says, we've already read the script of our lives. Even if it's bad, the fact that we chose to bring it into this world means there's something worth living for. So no matter how good or bad our script is, whether we're happy or not right now, always keep hope for the future. Believe that down the road, our own sunshine will come. There's an unwritten rule in the Korean underworld. The more tattoos you have, the higher your status. A man visits a bathhouse for the first time. He's never seen an electronic lock before, so he tries everything but can't open the locker. The constant noise annoys the attendant, who walks over, ready to yell. I've never used this before. Sorry, the man says. His name is Tae-sik. 10 years ago, he was a feared gangster known for his brutal fighting skills. That's why people in the underworld call him Mad Dog. But during a turf war, he drinks too much and accidentally stabs a gangster to death. The police arrest him, and he gets sentenced to 10 years in prison. After Taesik goes to jail, the first person who visits him isn't a friend or any of his former gang members. It's Deokja, the mother of the dead gangster. What surprises everyone even more is that Deokja doesn't hate Taesik. Instead, she forgives him and gives him a small notebook. She hopes he can turn his life around in prison by writing down his regrets and plans for the future. From then on, no matter the weather, Deokja visits Taesik every month. Her kindness makes him feel a mother's warmth. He finally realizes how foolish and ridiculous his past was. Deep down, he vows to do everything he can to make it up to her after his release. 10 years pass in the blink of an eye, and Taesik is finally out of prison. He writes down all the things he wants to do in the future, but he also sets 3 strict rules for himself. Never drink again, never fight again, and never cry again. As soon as he returns to town, he goes straight to Deokja's restaurant. But by chance, she isn't there yet, she's out. So he has no choice but to kill time at a bathhouse first. This is also one of the wishes he wrote down in his notebook. But after 10 years in prison, Taesik is completely out of touch with society. He doesn't even know how to open the locker at the bathhouse. Luckily, his full-body tattoos scare off the attendant who was about to yell at him. But it's not just the outside world that has changed. Back in the day, Taesik had 2 right-hand men, Tom and John. After Taesik went to prison, they took over the gang's power. Now, they both become big shots in town. Taesik looks them up, but he doesn't want anything from them. Taesik just wants to see how they're doing. But his 2 underlings act respectful in front of him, only to curse their bad luck behind his back after he leaves. The paranoid John even orders his men to watch Taesik, afraid he might try to take back his old territory. That night, Taesik returns to the restaurant. He finally sees Deokja, who can't hide her joy. For years, she's treated him like her own son. She not only prepares a big welcome meal for him, but also hand-feeds him wrapped barbecue. This makes her daughter Hiju jealous. Though she doesn't dislike Taesik, she makes it clear, Hiju says, she will never call him brother, because her real brother died long ago. The next morning, Taesik goes to the local police station to report in. To his surprise, the officer in charge of the area is Lee, his middle school classmate. "You don't recognize me?" Lee says. "We went to middle school together. You really don't remember? You used to bully me every day," Officer Lee says. He worries Taesik will cause trouble again after coming back, so he advises him to leave town. But Taesik sincerely promises him, "I've changed for the better. I won't make any more trouble." To completely start over, Taesik goes to the hospital to remove his tattoos. The moment he takes off his shirt, all the nurses gather around. His body is almost entirely covered in tattoos. Feeling shy, he tries to cover himself up. The doctor looks at Taesik's tattoos and says, "Tattoos this big can't be removed with chemicals. Only advanced laser treatment will work, but it's very expensive." To pay for it, Taesik gets a job at a repair shop. He works day and night, never complains, and doesn't drink at all. The shop owner praises him constantly, and even Officer Lee, who checks in on him, is surprised by the change. But Taesik doesn't stop there. To become a useful member of society, he also studies hard to improve his education. Taesik even secretly signs up for a cram school, hoping to get into college and change his life. Hiju happens to see this after school and can't resist teasing him, but Taesik doesn't mind. On their way home, he buys her street snacks. Unexpectedly, Jack, the school bully who has a crush on Hiju, spots them. He mistakes them for a couple and kicks Taesik hard, sending him flying. Then he corners him in an alley and beats him up. Jack says, "Hey, you think you can date her too?" Taesik says, "You got the wrong guy." The school bully Jack yells, "Wrong guy my ass." Taesik stays quiet and doesn't fight back, even when they gang up on him. But when his shirt gets torn and the dragon tattoos all over his body are exposed, Jack realizes he messed with the wrong person. Taesik quickly tries to cover his tattoos with his torn shirt. Under everyone's shocked stares, he walks away without a word. After this, Hiju's attitude toward Taesik changes. She slowly starts to accept him as her brother. One day, Taesik gets his first paycheck. He buys Deokja a new pair of shoes. Deokja scolds him for wasting money, but you can tell she's touched. Deokja holds the shoes in her hands, moved to tears. Hiju encourages him, and for the first time, Taesik hugs Deokja. He doesn't forget a gift for his sister, a camera she's been dreaming of for so long. Hiju is overwhelmed with joy. She carries the camera everywhere, snapping pictures all around the yard. That day, she accidentally finds Taesik's little notebook, filled with his wish list. Hee-ju decides to help him fulfill his dream of going on a picnic. On the weekend, the three of them go to the riverside. Watching the clear stream flow beneath their feet, Tae-sik wishes his life could be just as pure and bright. Hee-ju can't help but share a secret with her mom. She says Tae-sik has been studying in secret, dreaming of going to college one day. When Deokja hears this, she gets excited right away. Deokja says, "Son, if you can get into college, I'll pay the tuition. Go for it." The happy family laughs together by the river. After they get home, Hee-ju takes a family photo of the three with her camera. A shy Tae-sik just stands there grinning, until Deokja pulls him close. That perfect, happy moment is captured in the picture. But then, because of a land dispute over demolition, this hard-earned happy life is completely ruined. It turns out that a local councilman named Chairman Cho is working with gangsters on a real estate development project in town. Deokja's restaurant happens to be in the planned area. No matter how much they pressure her, the stubborn Deokja refuses to move. Deokja refuses to sell the restaurant and leave this place. This building isn't just a business, it's the home she built with her 2 children after her husband passed away. Every corner holds memories of their lives together. Now that her son is gone, keeping this place alive feels like keeping a part of him alive too. Selling it would be like losing him all over again. So she stays. Some people walk away from their pain, others choose to live inside it. Because sometimes, the only way to hold on to those we've lost is to stay exactly where they last were. This quickly angers Chairman Cho. He hints that whoever gets rid of this problem will manage his new nightclub. The simple-minded Tom immediately volunteers. The next day, he storms into the restaurant with his gang, but he never expects Tae-sik to be eating there. Tom feels a bit intimidated when he sees his former boss and quickly tells his men to back off. Tae-sik asks, "Are these your guys?" Tom says, "Boss, what are you doing here?" Tae-sik replies, "Why are you here? Get out. This is my mother's place." Tom is confused. Since when did Tae-sik have a mother? Luckily, Deokja shows up just then. Seeing her, Tom immediately bows and apologizes before leaving the restaurant with his men in shame. Tae-sik asks Deokja why they came, but she doesn't tell him everything, worried he might do something reckless. Meanwhile, Chairman Cho is furious when he hears what happened. Chairman Cho tells John and Tom to handle the matter quickly by any means necessary, or they won't be able to stay in town. The driver with a limp overhears their conversation. That night, he secretly goes to see Tae-sik. The two used to be bitter enemies. Tae-sik was the one who crippled the driver's leg. But now, the driver has let go of the past and holds no grudges. He warns Tae-sik out of kindness, saying the restaurant is on Chairman Cho's radar. He advises Tae-sik to move away with his family as soon as possible because Chairman Cho never gives up until he gets what he wants. Unfortunately, John's men spot their meeting. John quickly finds Tom. He thinks the limping driver went to see Tae-sik because he wants control of the nightclub. If the other side settles this first, they'll end up as Chairman Cho's discarded pawns. John and Tom discuss it. They believe the limping driver and Tae-sik might be after the nightclub's management rights. They can't let that happen. They need to secure the restaurant first, so Chairman Cho will give them the nightclub instead. They agree, Tom will handle the restaurant, and John will deal with Tae-sik. The next day, while Tae-sik is working at the car shop, Tom and his men return to the restaurant. Without a word, they start smashing everything inside. Deokja tries to stop them. Suddenly, someone throws her to the ground. Hee-ju, who just got back from school, sees this happen. She hits Tom's head hard with her camera, but the other gang members quickly grab her. Officer Lee watches everything from across the street but doesn't want trouble with the gang. He tells his men to drive away fast. When Tae-sik returns, the restaurant is a mess. He quietly picks up the broken dishes without asking questions. Later, he goes alone to Chairman Cho's office and begs him to leave his family alone. He doesn't want to break his promise to never fight again. But Chairman Cho thinks Tae-sik's plea sounds more like a threat. To get rid of this problem, he secretly works with Officer Lee in advance. They deliberately send people to the car shop to provoke Tae-sik. If Tae-sik dares to hit someone during his parole, Officer Lee can legally send him back to prison. The troublemakers purposely tell Tae-sik, "We want to put wings on the car, just like in the movies." Tae-sik says, "We can't do that." The troublemaker asks, "You can't?" Then he orders his men to start beating Tae-sik. When the car shop owner returns, the thugs beat him up too. But no matter how they hit or curse, Tae-sik shields the owner with his body, not fighting back at all. Seeing this, the thugs finally give up and leave. Even Officer Lee, watching from a distance, is shocked. Soon, word spreads to the town about Tae-sik getting beaten up. Jack, the school bully, comes to the restaurant just to mock him. Your tattoos are just for show, Jack sneers. Then he taunts Deokja. How can you adopt your son's killer as your own? Tae-sik flares up in anger. Just then, Hee-ju walks in and hears every word Jack said. Now she finally understands. Tae-sik is actually the killer of her own brother. Hee-ju asks her mother why she would take in a murderer as family. Deokja tells her daughter that when Tae-sik begged for her forgiveness in prison, crying, she had never seen anyone cry so heartbreakingly. From that moment, she knew Tae-sik wasn't truly evil. He just made a terrible mistake after losing his way. Over 10 years, watching Tae-sik's behavior in prison, Deokja became even more certain of her belief, so she wanted to give him a chance to start over. After hearing her mother's words, Hee-ju finds Tae-sik on the rooftop. Tae-sik feels too guilty to look up and says he'll leave soon. Hee-ju says, I came to thank you, and now you tell me you're leaving? My brother was her real son, but he was nothing. He hit mom for money. When he died, I was still young, and I was happy, because mom wouldn't be beaten by her own son anymore. Hee-ju says, don't go. I don't care what others say. Mom is really happy when she's with you. I've never seen her so happy, Hee-ju says. After some persuasion from Hee-ju, Tae-sik decides to stay. The next day, Deokja makes a bold move. She goes to Chairman Cho's place herself and shows him a copy of her son's diary. The diary reveals that her son was actually following Chairman Cho's orders when he picked a fight with Tae-sik, which led to his accidental death. Not only that, the diary also records many dirty jobs her son did for Chairman Cho in the past. Deokja warns Chairman Cho, if they keep harassing them, she says she'll hand the original diary to the police. Even a rabbit will bite when cornered, but she underestimates how ruthless Chairman Cho can be. One day, as Hee-ju is crossing the street, a man on a motorcycle speeds by and hits her with a brick, knocking her out. Blood instantly pours from her head. Seriously injured and unconscious, Hee-ju is rushed to the hospital, her face badly bruised. Looking at her daughter in the hospital bed, Deokja blames herself deeply. She finally lets go of her stubbornness and decides to sell the restaurant, taking the kids away from their hometown for good. At night, Tae-sik goes alone to Chairman Cho's club. He tells him that his family will soon leave town, but Chairman Cho just smiles coldly and says, come and go as you please, leave an arm behind, and I'll let you go. How about that? To protect his family, Tae-sik agrees without hesitation. Luckily, the one who does the job is the limping driver. He doesn't go too hard on Tae-sik. On the way back, the limping driver says, your arm will be fine, don't worry, you know what I mean. Move somewhere else and live a good life. Consider this my last gift to you. But things aren't as simple as Tae-sik thought. Chairman Cho, worried the diary might expose him, sends John to the restaurant to strangle Deokja before Tae-sik returns. Then, they press her hand onto the demolition contract to make it look legitimate. This gives them a reason to tear down the restaurant. Later, they find the original diary in a shoebox. The only leverage against Chairman Cho is gone. When Tae-sik rushes back, the scene is staged to look like a suicide by hanging. He can't understand it. Deokja had already decided to leave, so why would she kill herself? After Deokja's funeral, he goes back to the restaurant. The demolition crew has already started working. He enters the room to pack Deokja's belongings and sees the pair of shoes he once gave her still sitting in the corner. Deokja never wore them, but right next to the shoes, Tae-sik spots a familiar silver earring. It's an earring John dropped during the crime. In that moment, Tae-sik understands everything. At the hospital, Hee-ju finally wakes up. Where's mom? She asks. Tae-sik lies and says, she's at the restaurant. She'll come as soon as she's done. Hee-ju pleads with Tae-sik. Tell him to pick up the group photo from the photo studio. When Tae-sik arrives, the studio is already closed. Seeing the only family photo of them in the display window, Tae-sik can no longer hold back his grief and anger. He breaks down and cries loudly. That night, he drinks heavily. The 3 rules he once set for himself now mean nothing. He knows he must break his last promise, to show those scum what real hell looks like. Meanwhile, Chairman Cho is hosting a celebration at his new nightclub. Since Tom and John have both performed well, he puts them in charge of managing the nightclub together. As everyone raises their glasses to celebrate, crying suddenly comes from outside the door. Who the hell is crying out there? A voice shouts. It's me, you bastards. Oh, it's Tae-sik. Tae-sik confronts them. Why did you have to go this far? John says. Tae-sik, welcome back. I heard about your mother. I'm really sorry. The sly John tries to keep playing the good guy, but Tae-sik throws the earring at him. I'll make you even sorrier. It's clear now, there's no turning back. They have to settle this the hard way. Tae-sik tells the limping driver to leave first. He doesn't want to kill an innocent brother. Then he asks who attacked his sister. Jack, the new high school bully, steps forward without hesitation. He wanted to show his loyalty to the bosses, but before he can get close, Tae-sik takes him down with one move. Tae-sik calmly lights a cigarette and throws it on the ground. The nightclub bursts into flames, announcing to everyone that the real revenge has just begun. Tae-sik fights Chairman Cho's men alone. Each of them is a trained fighter, but hatred has already ignited Tae-sik's heart. He sees the Okja as his real mother, and Hee-ju as his own sister. Now, his mother is dead, and his sister is hurt in the hospital. The power of love and hate makes him unstoppable. He takes down all of Chairman Cho's men by himself. John stabs him in the chest when he's not looking, but Tae-sik doesn't care about living or dying anymore. He grabs John by the neck, lifts him up, and throws him off the second floor. Chairman Cho refuses to give up. "I should have killed you myself," Chairman Cho says. "Trash will always be trash." Tae-sik has already lost everything, his family, the people he loved. With nothing left to lose, he unleashes all his rage and pain on Chairman Cho, beating him to death. But even after revenge, Tae-sik finds no peace. He sits in the burning wreckage, numb, remembering the moments he shared with the Okja and Hee-ju. He once lived in endless darkness, until the Okja's motherly warmth gave him light. But in this life, some choices aren't yours to make. Even though Tae-sik tries to turn his life around, reality keeps pushing him into despair. In the end, he has no choice but to fight back, taking down the darkness of that era with him. He isn't seeking revenge. He's using his life to protect this hard-won light. Like a stubborn sunflower, even in the darkest soil, he gives everything he has to bloom as brightly as possible. On his way home from work on the subway, Shohei suddenly feels life has no meaning. He's only 41. He's been married to his wife for 13 years, and they have a daughter who just started middle school. The family owns a car and recently bought a house with a garden on a loan. At work, he's the head of the finance department, a man who seems successful in everyone's eyes. But as the same routine repeats day after day, he realizes all he does is work, eat, and sleep. He's lost all passion for his dull life and feels no interest in anything around him. He's become just another boring middle-aged man. Shoei's life isn't happy, and he can see exactly how dull it will be. But one day, while riding the train home, he spots a woman standing by the dance studio window near the tracks. She's young, beautiful, and elegant, with a quiet sadness in her expression. Shoei is drawn to her. He keeps staring until the train enters the tunnel, and he can no longer see her. Meeting a woman like her is just a random moment in life. Soon, everything goes back to being boring and ordinary. He goes home, takes a shower, sleeps, and wakes up early the next morning for work, just like always. But his stagnant life, like a pool of still water, seems to ripple a little after seeing her. Every night on his way home now, Shoei looks forward to seeing the woman by the window, and he always does. Even just a glimpse from afar fills him with a strange satisfaction. He even buys dance books to learn about this unfamiliar world as a complete beginner. But tonight, when he passes the dance studio, Mai isn't there. A sharp disappointment hits him. After hesitating for a few seconds, he steps off the train, unwilling to let it go. He lingers outside the studio for a long time. Just as he's about to go upstairs, reason stops him in his tracks. "What am I doing here?" Shoei is about to take the next train home, but he can't help glancing at the dance studio again. Just then, that woman appears by the window. In the end, he gives in to his desire and goes upstairs. Shoei enters the studio, bathed in warm yellow light. The woman notices him and walks over. "My name is Mai," she says, asking why he's there. A little nervous, he tells her he wants to learn to dance. Since private lessons are too expensive, Shoei pays 2,000 yen to join a group class. After signing up, he stops by a dancewear shop and spends over 10,000 yen on a pair of dance shoes. The next day after work, Shoei heads to the studio for his first lesson. Shoei looks forward to Mai teaching him personally, but he's disappointed to find out she only offers private one-on-one lessons. Instead, Tamako, an older instructor, is assigned to teach him. Tamako starts with basic dance theory, but Shoei can't focus. He keeps stealing glances at Mai, thinking he should have paid extra for private lessons. When Tamako moves on to basic steps, Shoei struggles. He's never danced before. By the end of class, he's exhausted. During the break, Tuoko, a student, strikes up a conversation. "Most male students here signed up just for Mai," she says, but Mai isn't the type to fool around, and she never gives male students a chance to get closer. That's why many of them quit halfway. "I bet you won't last long either," Tuoko says, seeing right through Shoei's intentions. He can only respond with awkward silence. Even though his motives are exposed, Shoei keeps going to the dance class every week. He still learns the basics from Tamako, and his eyes still drift toward Mai during lessons. But Mai always keeps her distance, and he never gets a chance to approach her. Even though he doesn't get closer to Mai, Shoei's state of mind is completely different from before. Shoei no longer feels lifeless. His days begin to glow with a new sense of hope. That day, Shoei goes to dance class as usual, but he's surprised to see Tomio, his co-worker, there too. Tomio is an ordinary clerk in the finance department. Most colleagues avoid him because he's dull and unremarkable at work. But here, Tomio is dancing passionate Latin moves, full of energy. As Shoei watches with interest, Tomio suddenly notices him. Embarrassed at being seen by someone he knows, Tomio panics. In his fluster, he accidentally bumps into Tooko nearby. Tooko starts yelling at Tomio, blaming him for messing up her dance rhythm. "You're already done with class. Just leave," Tooko says. "Shut up, you old hag," Tomio snaps back angrily. Hearing him call her an old hag, Tooko storms over and snatches off Tomio's wig. Later, Shoei and Tomio go out to eat. Tomio says he's been practicing dance in secret for 5 years. As an older single man, Tomio says, "People assume I'm only here for the beautiful teacher, but I really love dancing. When my body moves with the music, I feel genuinely happy. At work, everyone looks down on me, but when I put on my wig and dance, I feel this amazing confidence," Tomio says. "I also compete in amateur dance contests. Now I'm rated as a level 3 amateur dancer by the Dance Association." Shoei watches his colleague light up as he talks about dancing, seeing a completely different side of him outside work. By the end of their chat, they both agree, no one at the office can know they're taking dance lessons. That weekend, Tomio takes Shoei to a dance party. Soon, someone their age asks Shoei to dance, but as a beginner, he keeps making mistakes and accidentally steps on his partner's foot. In the end, he has to sit out, embarrassed, feeling the frustration of being a newcomer. After the blow from the dance party, Shoei becomes more serious about dancing. He really wants to get better at it. After showering, he secretly practices his steps in the study. However, he doesn't expect that his wife smells another woman's perfume on his clothes. The next day, his wife goes to a detective agency and hires a detective to investigate whether Shoei is having an affair. She doesn't dare to ask him directly because she's terrified of hearing the word cheating from her husband. Since she isn't 100% sure, the detective says it will take some time to gather evidence. That day, Tamako takes a day off, so Mai has to step in as the substitute teacher for the group class. Shoei finally gets his wish to be close to Mai. He's happy but clumsy as he tries to follow her dance steps. Just as he's lost in his secret joy, a detective investigating the case snaps a photo of him holding Mai. After class, Shoei should take the train home, but he waits at the station instead. When Mai comes downstairs, he gathers the courage to invite her to dinner, but Mai refuses without hesitation. She says she never interacts with students outside class. Mai says, "Let me be honest. I hate it when students come to dance class with the wrong intentions. I take dancing very seriously. This isn't a dance hall. Don't think of dancing as something vulgar," Mai says. After being rejected by Mai, Shoei starts to think about quitting, but when he sees people practicing in the classroom, he can't help but go back. He clears his mind and focuses on learning the rhythm and steps from Tomako. At work, he unconsciously practices his moves. On the bus, his feet tap to the beat in his head. Every weekend, he eagerly joins dance parties. On nights without class, he practices alone under the bridge. Slowly, he truly enters the world of dance and begins to feel its magic. After each class, while waiting for the bus, Shoei practices his dance moves without caring who's watching. His efforts on the platform happen to catch Mai's attention as she glances out the window. Over time, Shoei unconsciously incorporates dance moves into his everyday actions. During a casual chat, Tomio tells him, "Dancing is addictive. It's like basketball fans. They'll suddenly jump and mimic a shot in midair." On the weekend, Tomio takes Shoei to a dance hall. To his surprise, he runs into Tamako there. Besides teaching at the studio, Tamako also works part-time as a dance partner at this hall on weekends. Tamako asks Shoei to dance with a partner, but he worries his clumsy steps will embarrass him again. Then Tamako says, "Dancing isn't just about steps. You need to feel the music with your body." Shoei takes her advice and invites Tamako to dance. They move freely across the dance floor, following the music. Now Shoei understands dancing better. His attitude shifts from learning to enjoying it. One day, Tooko suddenly faints during practice. Shoei and the two teachers rush her to the hospital. From Tooko's daughter, they learn that Tooko loved dancing since she was young. She met her husband at a dance party. Years ago, Toko's husband passed away unexpectedly. To raise her daughter, she gave up dancing and started working. Now that her daughter is grown, Toko has returned to her passion for dance. She works 2 jobs during the day and practices at the dance studio at night. Despite the hard work, she keeps dancing because she wants to compete in an upcoming amateur dance competition. Dancing still brings her joy. It seems to be her only happiness and emotional support these days. But her former dance partner refuses to team up with her, saying she's too old and overweight. She wants to compete but can't find a willing partner. On the way back, Tomoko asks Shoei if he'd be Toko's new dance partner. Shoei says he's not good enough to compete. Teacher Tomoko offers him a free extra lesson and convinces Mai to join her in giving Shoei special training. Later, Shoei and Toko become partners and start practicing to build their rapport. Mai trains Shoei with a professional dancer's attitude. She scolds him harshly when he makes mistakes but praises him sincerely when he improves. During training, Shoei and Mai have a lot of physical contact. But unlike before when he admired her, Shoei doesn't have any impure thoughts. Right now, he cares more about improving his dance skills. As he gets better, Shoei looks forward to every tomorrow, eager to go to the dance studio early in the evening. Even when he runs into Tomio at the office restroom, he pulls him in to practice as his partner. But when a coworker walks in, Tomio quickly pretends to have fainted, and Shoei holds him, making the scene extremely awkward. After a special training session that day, when no one else is around, Shoei opens up to Mai about how he's been feeling. Shoei says, "Actually, the reason I started learning to dance in the first place. I was truly drawn to your grace and beauty." Shoei says, "I love my wife very much," he continues, "but I always feel like something is missing in my life. At one point I thought my life had no meaning," he admits. "I desperately needed some outside force to pull me out of that emptiness. For a while, I thought that force was you," Shoei says, "but then I realized you don't owe it to me to be my savior. Then I discovered dance," he explains. "As I kept learning, I slowly realized how much I love it. The more I danced, the more I noticed my outlook on life changing," he adds. After hearing Shoei's confession, Mai also opens up. She tells him she often stands by the window for a reason. She's been dancing since she was a child. "My dream as an adult is to win a prize at the Blackpool Dance Festival in England," Mai says. "2 years ago, I went to Blackpool to compete," she continues. "But in the semi-finals, another competitor knocked me down. At the time, I blamed my partner for not protecting me. After the fight, we ended our partnership. Then I returned to Japan to find a new top-level partner," Mai says. "But my father ordered me to stop competing for a while. He made me teach at his dance studio. I hated it, teaching a bunch of middle-aged and older students. So during that time, I often stood by the window, half-hearted and avoiding my responsibilities. I keep thinking about returning to the international stage to compete and win awards," Mai says. "But while teaching you all to prepare for competitions, I slowly understand why my father wanted me to stay here. Watching you dance with such passion and dedication, I realized I never truly loved dancing before," she continues. "I always danced just for achievements. I never took the time to feel the joy dancing brings." Some time later, the detective finishes the investigation. He hands Shoei's wife photos of him dancing in various places. With years of experience, the detective says Shoei isn't having an affair. He just suddenly developed a passion for dancing. Looking at the photos of her husband's focused expression, his wife notices he hasn't smiled this happily in a long time. Suddenly, Mai realizes that dancing might be the only thing that brings joy to her husband's life. For 13 years of marriage, she has never worked outside. It's Shoei who worked hard to buy their car and house. To let her sleep more, he makes his own breakfast every morning. He leaves the car for her daily use and takes the train to work. Thinking of how he has cared for her all these years, Mai decides to understand and support his hobby. On her way home, she buys a dance manual, trying to learn about the world of dance that Shoei loves. Soon, the competition begins, and Shoei and Toko walk onto the dance floor together. Tomoko and Mai cheer for Shoei from the audience, but he doesn't notice because he's focused on the upcoming competition. His wife and daughter also come to watch. The competition starts smoothly, and Shoei performs better than ever. But halfway through, his daughter shouts, "Go, Dad!" because he's doing so well. The sudden shout distracts him. In his panic, he spots his wife and daughter in the crowd. His dancing stops. Then another dancer bumps into him hard. He tries to steady himself but accidentally steps on Toko's skirt in the confusion. Her dress slips off, and she leaves quickly, embarrassed and upset. Shoei's first competition ends in dramatic failure. His wife admits she already knew about his dancing. She feels a bit resentful because Shoei has been so obsessed with lessons that he skips dinner at home. The failure hits Shoei hard. He tells his wife he won't dance anymore. That whole experience was just a pipe dream, he says. That world was never meant for someone like me. After that, Shoei stops going to the dance studio. His life goes back to just work and family. Shoei feels hopeless and accepts his dull routine, going back to his repetitive life between home and work. But soon, on the weekend, Tomio and Toyoko suddenly visit him and bring a letter from Mai. The letter says Mai will hold a farewell dance party next Friday before leaving for the UK to return to international competitions. She invites Shoei to see her off, but he avoids the idea and doesn't want to go. His wife urges him to attend the party, but he brushes it off, saying he doesn't feel like going. Then his wife tells him, "Instead of seeing you so down, I'd rather watch you dance happily. Besides, you can teach me to dance." Shoei says, "Actually, I'm just as interested in dancing as you are," his wife replies. Their conversation catches their daughter's attention. "Dad, you should teach Mom right now," the daughter says. She then pulls her parents outside. With their daughter urging them, Shoei takes his wife's hand and starts teaching her. He explains the basic steps carefully, patiently showing her how to move with a partner. As they dance, Shoei suddenly realizes something. Since entering middle age, he's barely shared any meaningful moments with his wife. Lately, he's been so absorbed in learning dance that he forgot. Every night, she waits for him with a warm meal ready. He says, "I'm sorry for making you feel lonely." Then he patiently starts teaching his wife to dance. The close contact seems to ease the tension between them. Dancing is a magical activity. It brings people closer, heart to heart. Time jumps to Friday evening of the second week. After work, Shoei wanders alone outside for a long time. Late at night, as the train passes the dance studio, he instinctively glances toward it. But this time, he notices new words written on the studio window. "Shoei, let's dance." It's Mai's final invitation to him. Meanwhile, inside the dance hall, the farewell dance party for Mai is almost over. Throughout the evening, Mai keeps glancing at the door, but Shoei, whom she invited, never shows up. When it's time for Mai to choose a partner for the final dance, the spotlight sweeps across the crowd, but the person she's waiting for still isn't there. Just as Mai starts to feel disappointed, Shoei rushes in and appears at the entrance. Seeing him, Mai's lips curve into a faint smile. She walks over slowly and asks him to dance. This is the 1996 film Shall We Dance? A story about how middle-aged people navigate their midlife struggles. The confusion Shoei faces is something many people outside the movie are either going through or will experience someday. By middle age, people have already walked half of life's journey. At this stage, they often lose their joy in living. The curiosity and passion of youth fade away, yet their experience and wisdom haven't reached the level where they can follow their hearts freely. For middle-aged men and women, the burdens pile up: family responsibilities, the exhausting task of raising children, cracks in their marriages, and the unstoppable aging of their looks. Their inner worlds become shockingly barren and withered. These harsh realities weigh them down, bending their backs. So they have no choice but to keep their heads down and hurry forward through life. Many people who keep their heads down and push forward don't notice it. Their expressions stay tense, their thoughts grow cloudier, and life becomes dull. They start to feel like the rest of their days hold no hope or meaning. But this film shows us that if we lose our passion for life, we should find something to care about, a hobby or a purpose. No matter how hard life gets or how mundane our daily routines are, we must still seek what truly matters to us. It could be a simple hobby within our reach or a life goal we're willing to give everything for. And in the process of chasing what matters, we can always find joy in life, and we will eventually discover how to enjoy it.